I think if you want to throw it really hard, it wouldn't be a bad option to go more overstable and a little bit more Anheuser, just because you get a little bit more forgiveness. All right, what is going on, guys? I'm gonna be doing a series of a couple videos really just talking about a certain specific shot in disc golf. This is, gonna be a very educational type of video for beginners, but it also could be educational for advanced pro players, really just whoever wants to, get some more information or just watch me kind of break down certain shots. Today, I'm going to be talking about a flex shot. What a flex shot is throwing an overstable disc for your arm speed on Anheuser and letting it work out of it and finish with a overstable finish. Overstable meaning it wants to fade back to the left if you're throwing a righty backhand or a lefty forehand, and back to the right if you're throwing a righty sidearm or a lefty backhand. And the reason I say overstable for your arm speed is because while I might be throwing a flex shot with an overstable destroyer or a Firebird or a zone or a recluse for the mid-range putter slots, if you're a newer beginner player or have a slightly lower arm speed, everyone's arm speed is different, everyone's nose angle is different, so they're likely going to be throwing different shots. But like for you as a player, you want to take a disc that is overstable, so if you throw it on a backhand, it's gonna crash left pretty hard, and instead of throwing it flat or hyzer, throw it on Anheuser and it'll work straight or a little right and then fade out left. So I'll kind of show a demonstration of the positioning you want to get yourself into and kind of just how to throw this flex shot and some of the benefits that come with it. A couple reasons you would want to throw a flex shot is, one, if you have a low ceiling, a flex shot's good because Anheisers stay low and nose down, whereas if you're throwing on hyzer, if you want to throw a hyzer flip or something, the hyzer lifts up. So if you have a low ceiling, low in the distance, then throwing a flex shot is actually advantageous because it stays low and pushes on that low driven line, opposed to if you throw a hyzer flip, by the time it gets to your low ceiling a little bit later in flight, it's probably going to be lifting up unless you throw it really low to the ground or just have a really nose down angle. Another reason could be just if you like throwing Anheisers, if you feel more comfortable in the Anheuser position, but you want kind of a straight push or a full flight out of a disc, instead of throwing a hyzer flip or a flat shot, you can crank an overstable disc on Anheuser and get it to take a full flight. And then one more is really just shot shape. If you have a tree in the middle of a fairway or a mando on the right and you need to kind of shape something straight or get a little bit of right push and then a hard fade left, then it could be good, opposed to throwing a hyzer flip where you release it on hyzer, try to get a little bit of turn out of it, and then a little bit of fade. You put the disc on the angle that's overstable, so you know it's gonna fade back, it pushes, and then it comes out. It's kind of a 2-angle shot opposed to a 1, 2, 3 angle shot, so you're controlling that flight a little bit better. For me, if I'm throwing a flex shot, I'm throwing a zone, a recluse for like mid-range slots, then straighter Firebird, but still overstable. That's more of like a tight flex shot where it, will push a little on Annie and fade out. Overstable FD3 for a low penetrating, but really overstable finish at the end. And then a couple halo destroyers. To demonstrate the position you want to be in, you really want to be standing up tall. If we're throwing a flex shot with a really overstable disc, then I think you want to reach back kind of mid-height to a little higher in your reach back and really get over on it. And the key thing about throwing a flex shot is following through down, so that way you can get that disc down at the very end and it comes out on Anheuser and then finishes on hyzer. So looks like we got some people and dogs in the fairway. I'm just gonna throw it a little bit more right. So I'm gonna start it straight, put it on a little Anheuser, and it should fade out a little bit. This is a zone, so it's a little bit straighter. So this is more of like an Anheuser to a little bit of fade, kind of straight shot, whereas some of these might wanna come back and skip a little bit more at the left, at the end to the left. It really just depends on what you want out of the shot. This is good for like a straight shot where, you know, you're controlling its flight opposed to throwing something flat and hoping it flies straight and doesn't fade out. So let's give it a go. So stand up tall, a little bit higher in the reach back, follow through down. All right, so see, that's actually a good demonstration there, because I actually didn't really follow through down and I kind of kept it low and it released on anhyzer, but it kind of just stalled out and then faded out left. I'm gonna overcommit to this recluse and really stand up tall, lean back, and just follow through down and make sure to get that flex shot angle. There we go. So that was perfect. High reach back, follow through down. That's a more overstable disc, so that angle with the zone would have been touchy. That's probably why I didn't do it, because I was a little scared to overcommit and burn it over. But the recluse is a really good disc for a tight flex shot. Like I said, reach back high, follow through down, it pushed right and faded back. That was a really good flex shot line. Now we'll try it, or we'll go with the straighter Firebird. We'll try to give this one a little bit more height. So just kind of a flat neutral reach back, but really follow through down. Since this thing's a little bit straighter, it can afford a little bit more height, but I'll still give it some good anhyzer. And there you go, pretty good line, just dead flat, pushing on Annie the whole time and fades out just a little bit. That's really what you want out of a flex shot. It's just good for controlling what the disc is gonna do and not letting the disc get squirrely on you. I tend to think the flippier you throw, you know, the more options it has. So if you throw an overstable disc, but you don't want it to fade out right away, that's kind of what a flex shot is good for. You're putting it on the angle and you know that the whole time it wants to fight out. So this FD3 is gonna be a really good example of that. I'll get this one on a lot of anhyzer. So that was a lot of anhyzer, but I could have been more extreme with the angle if I really wanted the full turning flex line. But that's still a good way to throw an overstable disc on a flex shot, is, you know, some good anhyzer, but not super extreme to where it does push straight, but then it fades out. It's almost like the Gannon Burr angle, where out of the hand it looks flat, but it's a touch of anhyzer and then it fades out immediately. It's a good way to throw an overstable disc straight and get a consistent result out of it. So now we'll go with Calvin Destroyer. This is really good. I mean, you could throw this on distance lines. It's a good way to control your distance lines and keep it in the fairway. Again, I'm gonna keep bringing it back to a neutral or flippy disc for your arm speed. If you do that, then it has the opportunity to turn more, cut roll, fade out. If you put it on too much hyzer, this, you can trust it on anhyzer and trust that it's gonna fade back. That's why flex shot's a good shot. We'll start with this one. It's the straightest out of all of them. We'll try to give it a little more height, a little more flight, and yeah, just kind of see if we can put one in the middle. So high reach back, follow through on Annie. And with the distance drivers, well, at least this one isn't as overstable, so I'm not gonna reach back as high. I'm just gonna have kind of a normal mid-height reach back and follow through on anhyzer, because this, if I reach back too high and throw it with too much follow through, then it's probably gonna burn over into the ground, because distance drivers get a little bit more, with more angle, they'll turn over a little bit faster opposed to the FD3. So I'm just gonna keep it on a mid neutral reach back and follow through with some good angle. So yeah, that's perfect. It wasn't a super extreme angle. You can do extreme angles, but it makes it a little bit harder to hit your line. That's an overstable disc, but not super overstable. We'll show some more extreme angles with the more overstable discs, but a good pro player that throws that shot a lot would be Nico Locastro. he throws really overstable discs on a lot of anhyzer, and what it does is allow him to land his discs softly. Even though they're overstable discs, he's holding them over and letting them land flat. So this isn't always good, you know, it's not necessarily good in the woods because you have to throw it hard and you have to hit your angles, but that's, you know, kind of a different shot, and we're going to be going over some different shots in this series. But I think there is a time and a place for the flex shot. So now we'll go a touch more overstable and a touch more anhyzer. Come on. Yeah, so there we go. Touch more overstable, touch more anhyzer. I think if you want to throw it really hard, it wouldn't be a bad option to go more overstable and a little bit more anhyzer, just because you get a little bit more forgiveness and you could kind of put it on anhyzer and throw it really hard, and the more overstable, the less likely it is to you know, cut roll right. However, you can fade out left. So if there's OB left, then obviously you probably want to go a little bit more neutral and throw it a little bit flatter. But if you have an open fairway, I don't think there's anything wrong with going a little bit more overstable and cranking it over. So we got really overstable now, and I'll put this one on a lot of anhyzer. Yeah, so another really good example, just released it on a lot of anhyzer. You could see it pushing over right, but coming out right away. So I think I'm even learning what this shot is useful for in this video, and will probably continue to in this series. But the flex shot, I think, is really good with distance drivers, specifically for putting it on the angle and just knowing that right away it's gonna be coming out and finding the fairway, as long as you don't roll it over or under commit. So I think as long as you get that good stability for the angle that you like to throw, and putting it on that angle and allowing it to just come back and find the fairway, that's really the benefit of throwing the flex shot. You know, it's overstable and reliable. It's not going to do anything else but fade. Thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one.